Hi, everyone. For the last time of this season, welcome to Got Something For Ya. I'm so excited to talk about the finale with Phil and Ollie. And of course, as you can see here, we have our live chat. Welcome, Minnows. If you are joining us live, please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the live chat. We love talking to all of you. So I'm just excited to get right into it. Ollie and Phil. Well, first of all, Phil, I need to throw it to you. Can you remind the viewers what we agreed on last week?
So last week, for anyone who was here, you might recall at the end of our podcast, we made winner selections. Ollie went first. He said Kinsey. I wanted to keep it interesting. I said Charlie. And Matthew also said Kinsey. I wanted to make things interesting, and I said, if Kinsey wins on finale night, I will be Uber Eatsing you Applebee's. Now, Ollie is not here in this country, so unfortunately, he was not able to participate. Matthew, go ahead and show our audience at the front door today.
I got the chicken tenders, everyone. I tried that burger that Liz likes. It's not for me. So I got chicken tenders. Thank you, Phil, so much for this lovely treat. I'm going to quickly just cheers to you. Look at that.
There we go. There we go. I make good on a bet, and next year, maybe the Applebee's will be mine, and I will be asking for it. This is now going to be a Got Something For You tradition. Finale night, loser gets to winner Applebee's. There we go.
I love it. I think that's perfect.
I didn't get Applebee's, so I can't be a part of this.
We got to find an alternative for Ollie.
We got to find an alternative for Ollie. We got to. We're going to pontificate through the offseason. But welcome, everyone.
I was going to say, do you know it's fine? Because I have the satisfaction of winning quite a lot this season, so it's fine. I'm completely fine.
Ollie won the old fantasy draft. You know, obviously, we're not going to forget that. Meanwhile, me, with Liz on my team, I lost a point in the finale. Cannot believe I still don't understand how that worked. Insane. Anyways, we've got such a large community in our chat already.
I know. Megan said, let's go Applebee's. I know. Not the mushroom bourbon burger. I know. I've tried it. It's not for me. Nice, Phil. Amy, great to see you. Thank you for leaving a comment on our last video. We're excited to talk about this episode with you. And then, oh yeah, the Applebee's reward isn't just for Survivor. It's now for Got Something For Ya. So absolutely love it. Oh, Amy, I like this real quick. Maybe the AU US season will have KFC, and maybe Ollie can have that.
I do like KFC.
That's a great idea.
There we go.
All right. I need to hear about your finale viewing experience. So where were you? Did either of you go to any watch parties, or did you just have fun at home?
I'm from the UK. I was asleep in my bed. I woke up Thursday morning and then straight away watched. I was like, I'm not missing it. I'm watching it straight away.
Yeah, I watched at home with a small audience of friends, and we are going to be getting through everything today. But this finale did not at all go as I expected, if I'm being completely honest. And there were so many different reasons and ways that it did not go in the way that I expected. We will get to all of it. We will talk about it, and I cannot wait.
Oh, I know. And I was at the Bryce and Wen Present finale party. That was an insane time. I'm so excited to spill more information as we get into today's discussion. Minnows, it sounds like you wanted to go there too, but the NYC public, I got stuck in that mess. Yeah, the trains were down that night, and that was very interesting to deal with as well. So first, I think we just have to get right into it and congratulate the winner of Survivor 46, Kenzie.
Congrats, Kinsey. You deserve it. It's much deserved. Much deserved.
I mean, she really had that narrative of the mermaid dragon. We heard it very early on in the season. There were people on Yanu that wanted to target her because they knew that if she made it far enough, she could win this entire thing. And she proved that to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kinsey was an incredibly impressive social player. We are going to get into everything, but I do think that she etched out this win by simply having more people on the jury that cared about her vested interest than Charlie's. And you know, I'm really excited to sort of go through step by step and get to the end where we can really talk about all of it. But that is sort of just from the top here, my understanding. Kinsey just had more people caring about her than Charlie did. And sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, and the thing is, Kenzie, we'll talk about it, but I kind of said it on half the podcast I've already done this week. But Kenzie proved how much jury management was key. Mm-hmm. And in this particular season, jury management was so crucial, and she was able to do that really well.
Yes, I think her social game was pretty flawless, if you ask me. But this episode for me was mostly about the relationship between Charlie and Maria. This kept me going. It was interesting to see this. They were both at the finale party. And I can say there were a lot of eyes on both of them to see their reactions. They both did a great job while they were there. But I mean, we kind of get right into it with Maria sort of needing to explain why she voted for Charlie at the last tribal council. And she says, it was everyone else. They got in my head. They said I wouldn't be able to beat you if we got to the end. And then they switched it up on me.
Can I be honest? As wild as it sounds after the fact, in real time, I was giving her credit. I do think that, like, for what it's worth, this is the most viable excuse she could have given outside of her just being completely authentic and honest and saying, hey, this was my idea to go after you. I am scared that you could possibly beat me at the end, and I'm nervous to have you sitting next to me. I really sat there with my buddies, and I said, honestly, not the worst lie in the world. Like, considering where she was coming from, where she had to sort of come from, I think that, you know, I'm gonna give her some credit here. I think there are enough reasons why, you know, people are sort of picking apart little things that she might have done in this finale. I don't think that this was the worst thing in the world. What do you think, Ollie?
No, this wasn't the worst thing in the world for her, but I do think, like, again, she knows her perspective of the game. We see kind of an hour of everyone's perspective. So we were kind of aware that Kenzie and Liz were never going to go with her. So I understand why she would push that, but obviously, like, I think Charlie knew, like, it wasn't an accident. Like, Charlie knew that, like, it occurred. She did it. And I think because of that, that's why I was kind of looking at it like Maria kind of just has to own it. But I still feel like she did a decent job.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not so far of a reach, the lie that she told Charlie, but at the same time, I would have preferred, Phil, what you said first, the kind of owning up to it. Yeah. I don't think I can beat you at the end. It was my idea. Like, I feel like she kind of needed to own that move, especially if her story ended up with her at final 3. I think that would be a perfect opportunity to own the game that she's been playing. Georgette, a little late, but you're here. We're so great to see you, Georgette. Thank you so much for joining the finale chat. But then Maria says something really interesting to the entire group, which is something along the lines of like, great work, everyone. Like, I'm just starting to see all of your games. And I know this rubs Liz the wrong way.
Yeah, I can understand why, because I feel like if that said that to me, I would have been a bit like, excuse you? So I guess I feel like that was kind of like Maria realizing, like, oh, not everyone is just here like vibing. Ben's not just vibing. Kenzie isn't here having a lovely time. Like, they have all been playing the game like from the start. It's just she now got, and it's like now she's got to kind of really have her back against the wall and fight.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Liz. If I was out there and I'm hearing someone say on, what was this, maybe day 22, 23, saying, oh, wow, y'all are finally here to play. I'd be like, man, who do you think you are? I mean, come on. I mean, we have all been playing since the start, but at the same time, like, you also have to sort of, you can kind of see where she's coming from. I mean, like, despite everyone playing the game, like, have they been playing an effective game that everyone's been able to see? Like, that's debatable. As Q would say, debatable. And I think that, you know, but I mean, apparently, again, I hate to have to keep sort of like, you know, pre-logging my end here, but it's just like, apparently she thought that Kenzie was playing more than Charlie. So, you know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But yeah, wild thing for her to say.
I think it's because everyone else wasn't playing the same game as Maria was playing a loud game. Maria wanted to have those moments of loudness, whereas other people didn't. And I think she took this as people are now wanting to finally start being loud. And it was like, no, this was just their time to kind of voice a bit more. And I think that's maybe why it shocked her, because they've always been playing. They just haven't been the loudest voice in the room. They've let Maria, Q, Tevin, like they've let other people be that loud voice, but they've still been a voice just hiding behind them.
Yeah, I could sort of see where she was coming from, but at the same time, like I thought Liz in particular, she had that move where she orchestrated the vote against Tevin, right? But it didn't seem like there was much left there, except she was in the middle and they relied on her vote heavily. They relied on Liz's vote heavily. But that being said, Liz was very much of the mindset, as we learn later in the episode, that she was playing an ultra phenomenal game that was going to win her the jury votes no matter who was there with her. So I thought the editors were being shady at this. I thought that they
Well, I was going to say, can we talk about this, right? Exactly what you said. We have Liz in confessional saying, hey, one more step and I'm going to win the game. And then we have comments like this from James. Liz was so underwhelming. Which is interesting because I do think that these are two entirely contrasting viewpoints on how Liz played the game. Which one is the real truth? Because I do think that the audience is probably siding more with James here, saying, hey, Liz is underwhelming. What a lack of actual sort of intention through the game. What has she done? But then you have Ben saying she's the biggest threat at a certain point. You have Kenzie saying, oh, yeah, one of us is going to be going up against Liz. Like, who was going to be able to take down Liz? And, I start to feel a little crazy where I'm like, wait a second. Are we watching the same program? I mean, I have had Liz on my team since the start. I've paid very close attention to Liz. Do I think that she's been doing nothing? No. Do I think that she has played a winning, deserving game? I'm sorry, I did not see it. And so I think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But I'd love to know what you two think about that, because I think that is one of the most fascinating things that we figured out during this finale. Ollie, you look like you're ready.
No, you said it just there. We didn't see it. And that's the thing with Survivor. They will show us what they want to fit whatever narrative they're trying to do. And unfortunately, I think Liz's narrative was not shown as much. We saw her with the Tevin vote. We saw her be a key role in Tiffany's vote. So, I know that the jury, again, she wasn't good for jury management. I think she very much kind of wasn't the best when it came to jury management and social. But I do still feel like she had a game when you kind of really look at it and you listen to kind of the people's exit interviews. But again, the key thing there for me was we didn't see it.
I think it's going to be interesting to kind of talk about what inspires her to start speaking in this way a little bit more. It's towards the end when we see Ben basically tell her that she's making fire, and he kind of clocks the game that she believes she's been playing up until this point. But to basically reiterate what both of you said, we didn't see. And, Amy says, it makes you wonder if things happened regarding Liz that we didn't see. And I think there was some stuff, behind the scenes. But Megan also points out, considering how the jury talked about deserving the money for the votes, and Liz had that storyline going in of, I own many businesses, I'm a millionaire. I don't think that would have gotten her votes. I mean, it's very interesting. I did this year on that, Ollie, how Survivor creates arguments through their editing is so interesting. I love that, Minnows. That sounds absolutely fascinating. So let's jump into this immunity challenge and reward for the sanctuary where good things happen. I really like this. And I have to say, when it got to this final puzzle and it was revealed that the twists, and I thought Jeff actually did a fantastic job at basically saying this will unlock this will tell you what the combination is, but without giving away the twist. And I loved it. And people's jaws at the Bryce and Wen present party were on the ground, especially when Liz started helping out Kenzie, because she was that close to a win. I was on the edge of my seat for this. Were either of you the same way?
Oh yeah, I loved this challenge overall. I thought it was this lovely mix of physical, mental, like beautiful. I feel like I have a very different opinion to most people on this. I didn't have a problem with it. And I feel like me and Phil are going to disagree on this. I had no issue with this. If I was Maria, I'd take it as a compliment. Phil, go ahead, because I feel like you say it first, my darling.
I'm actually dissociating here. This challenge. So first, let me start off with the positives, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
You learn in management. You want to do like a compliment sandwich. Okay. This challenge was fantastic. I thought it was super creative. Shout out to the challenge team. Shout out to Survivor as a whole for putting this extra twist where Kinsey finishes. She's got her hands up like this, only to find out, oh my God, you're not done. There's one more step, whatever. That's genius. It's brilliant. I think it's so fun, inventive, in a spin on what we have become so accustomed to see. Now, Liz helping Kinsey during a final challenge of the game is insane to me. And I think that this is what I'll actually say. I want to start because I also don't want to get it twisted. Do I think that Jeff should have thrown down a gavel and been like, Liz, you can't do this. Absolutely not. Whatever. Maybe not for the first time that it's ever happened. However, I think that this needs to be a moment where Jeff moving forward goes, you cannot literally abandon your sort of path through a challenge to stop and help someone else, literally going into their lane of a challenge, grabbing their set pieces for what it's worth to help them win. That felt despicable, And I would even go as far as to say that if Liz finished her puzzle and then was allowed to go on to the next step of the challenge, which is grabbing her board with holes and wanted to help out Kinsey, that would have felt better as well. I think the fact that she was able to do this all without even having completed her own puzzle is such a slippery slope. And I've heard this talked about many times where, okay, and I'm sorry, I'm going to bring in some chats here. I think that, this didn't do Liz a service either. I had my friend texting me venom about Liz after this scene. And it felt bad because the truth is I have been, a Liz lover through the whole season. Despite what you want to say about her game, I thought Liz was super interesting casting. I'm a big fan of her. But I thought that this move was just man, I just thought this was so misguided. And I think that there's such a slippery slope here where then can anyone just stop their challenge and help someone out, right? At the final 8, at the final 9, if they wanted Hunter out, could they have been like, hey guys, let's all pull together to get this sucker out? It just feels like this is a recipe for disaster. And I hope that it is remedied in the following season. And I think that this can be a landmark where it's oh, this happened. And it was jump the shark mode. We had to somehow get the toothpaste back in the tube. Matthew, I'm dying to hear what you say. You usually like to split middle. You're our moderator here. But please, give us your real thoughts.
It made for a really great television moment in the sense that at the watch party, everyone couldn't believe themselves. It was the most thrilling thing to watch. But can I be honest? My initial thought was that Kenzie solved the puzzle and Liz was going to use the hint for herself to get the combination for her own thing. Oh. That's what I thought was happening at first. When I saw that she was helping out Kenzie, I had a couple of thoughts. One, I thought if production didn't explicitly say you are not allowed to cross into the lane of the other players, then obviously that's against the rules. But if they didn't, it's up in the air. I agree with you, Phil. Moving forward, I don't think that they should. I don't think that they should encourage this just because, yes, it made for a great moment. But to your point, I think that this could really backfire and get old very easily. But there's a rule in competitive swimming where you are not allowed to interfere with swimmers in the next lane over.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that this is like that. So I'm grateful for the television moment. I wouldn't want to see it again.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ellie. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like, so Megan put it in the chat. It's the last thing. I do think a rule should be that Liz had to grab her own board. Because I think if Liz had grabbed her own board, then there wouldn't have been as bad. But again, I feel like Matt made a very good point. Production didn't say anything. So to me, the fans that are like berating Liz for this, she production didn't specify, so Liz was able to do it. So in the nicest way possible to the toxic fans, build a bridge like they did in the back there and get over it.
Yeah, no, I actually totally agree with that. I think that like this is not on Liz to like sort of like, you know, police herself. Like she ultimately wants Maria out. She made a decision, which is, as humans, that's what we do. We make decisions. I think that it is on production to be like, hey, not allowed. Similar to, I mean, everyone keeps bringing this up. Similar to what Jeff did in South Pacific with Sophie
and
when she's calling for Albert to pick up to drop his stack to pick up hers. Why was that not allowed? Because it was literally her. It would have been him literally touching her pieces so that she did not have to do a portion of the challenge, which is get up and grab your own pieces. Once again, I think on a smaller scale, I agree with Megan where it's like I think that there could have been an edge where she can help Kinsey to a degree, but I actually don't even think that it's going and getting her own board because at the end of the day, all the boards have the same amount of holes in it. Otherwise, it would have been an unfair challenge to some degree. What I think that it needed to be is, hey, Liz, if you want to help Kinsey with her, if you want to go grab your board to help Kinsey, you must complete your puzzle. Liz did not even complete her puzzle. Again, Ollie, the slippery slope here is that at the start of a challenge, and go. And immediately, I don't even give a crap about my section. I am running over to Matthew's section to just make his path a two-person game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is so unfair.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, don't.
If Liz wanted to complete her puzzle, go grab her board, do everything that she needed to do in her sort of personal challenge path, and then go, Kinsey, the answer is this.
Yeah. No, that's what I guess. Yeah.
Because at least someone completed the challenge start to finish. In this challenge, get this, not a single person completed it start to finish. That's wrong.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's not a single contestant that completed every part of the challenge on their own.
That's incredible to look at it that way.
Yeah. And I think that's not fair because even Kinsey did not run back to grab a board. She missed a part of the challenge. I think that's not fair. And so, this part definitely got me a little hot during my watch. Thank you, Minnows. That's what I was trying to say, Phil. Happy I could be a voice box for you, Minnows. Send hate mail to @ollie@gmail.com.
Phil, I've already had hate from people, so it's honestly fine.
No, we're going to talk all about that at the end too. But long story short, or spoilers, don't send hate to people. Of course, we're just joking around with each other here. But we have to congratulate Kenzie on winning immunity here. Great looking necklace. And then we get into some strategy. So basically, the episode said, Maria's going home. Let's make you think it was Ben.
I actually think they did a decent job about it. Like, I'm not even going to lie. I don't know how you two felt, but like, I know. But I mean, there were times I was like, oh, possibly. During pre-tribal, let me specify this. Pre-tribal, there was those discussions and I was like, okay, I can see what they're doing. And I can understand what they've done with the confessionals. Obviously, tribal was a completely different story. Like, let me just say that. Tribal, I was fully aware. Tribal, you could literally, you didn't even need, you could be blindfolded, like you knew what was happening. But pre-tribal, I do appreciate at least them kind of sitting there and going, well, let's just make you, because you never know.
I mean, okay. Well,
it's a stretch.
To me, but you know what? That's good. If you're a viewer, let us know what you thought of this. Did you think Ben was actually going to go home? To me, it felt like whenever it cut to a confessional of someone being like, if you asked me at the beginning of the day, I would have said Maria all the way. But now with this new information, I'm really considering Ben. All I felt, and I can't speak for production and I don't know how they operate, but all I felt was the producer saying, can you make it a little more open-ended? Can you consider Ben and then go from there?
Yeah, and to be honest, like I think that it was the Liz confessional specifically, where she was the one that was like, "Now I'm thinking maybe it's good," and I was just like, "Dude, this sounds so to my like," because I do think once again, I think Survivor producers do a fantastic job, sort of obfuscating how direct their questions are, even if it is like, "Hey, I know you're not going with this, but like, give us like the alternate, reality of what you might do." I felt like this one, I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it for anything. I was like, Liz, come on. This is so obvious. A producer being like, okay, what's your other option? And I didn't buy it. And that said, I mean, look, kudos. I'm still going to give Maria kudos. Kudos to Maria for trying anything under the sun. This is like what it's about. I really do think that, like, again, I'm going to talk about my nameless friend who was texting me during our watch through, our California watch through. And he was just saying, he was like, oh my God, this is so stupid, whatever. And I was like, dude, it's not though. She has to do something. And you have to give credit to any individual that's going to do anything to try to sort of squeak out that next little bit, or that next, just that bit of hope, grasping at that bit of hope of anything can happen in this game. Even if it was pretty cut and dry that it was never going to happen. You got to give like a little bit of grace and credit to Maria here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to tribal council, and it's basically like, thank you so much for playing, Maria.
Yeah. Literally. I mean, look, standing ovation and all. Like they gave her flowers. Yeah. And again, kudos to the cast of 46 for giving this just absolute beast of a woman her flowers. I mean, and to your point, Ollie, like, kudos to Maria for not like getting up after that challenge and being like, screw you people, I'm going home. Because I think it is so easy to sort of have that affect to you after what happened. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I would be sour to crap about that. And I think most people would. I think 9 out of 10 people would not be able to hold the grace that Maria had. And for what it's worth, the woman could not even speak after the challenge. So, like, she obviously was upset. Like, she's not sitting there smiling, being like, well, you ladies did what you had to do. But I think that she was like, look, I'm going to take this as a badge of honor,
Yeah. And I do generally think because how she reacted then was how you expect everyone to react now. Now that the season's airing, like, you would expect that now. She was able to do that at Tribal, like, a few hours after that happened. So, like, kudos to her. Like, she knew she was a beast. Like, she was an absolute threat. So, kudos to Maria for going out with that much class and style.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we sort of push on here, I mean, look, why have a chat if we're not bringing them up here? Just throwing out some thoughts here. Minnows. It would have been wild if Maria pulled out an idol. I would have also died, I think. Frank, your view, cheating is cheating. Can't justify how best to cheat. Survivor precedent was already set where people copy each other from puzzles. That was sort of the line. I agree with you there. Right here, Ben was one of my winner picks, so I was rooting for him hard. Well, we will get to Ben. He ultimately squeaked out a win himself. To me, Maria was desperate, and it wasn't believable that Ben was a problem. I mean, look, we've gone through that. Alas.
Wait, I will say, I do like, Amy, I like your comment here. If you were in Maria's place, you would have had a meltdown that made Liz's Applebee's one look pretty tame.
Oh my God.
You know what?
Wish I saw that.
Maria, I like that she was like, it took 2 of you to beat me. And she didn't let them forget that. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah. And I think while we're just on the topic, Maria may be out of the game, but she is definitely not out of the conversation, because we're going to talk so much about the ending, as obviously we're talking about the finale. But quickly on this note, I thought Maria was such a fantastic player.
Yes.
Great at challenges. Definitely was in control a lot of the time during this game. Yeah. And it just was her time.
Yeah. And I'll add this. Completely agree. Also, overcoming the like older woman on a season stereotype. I mean, like almost tying the record for female wins in individual immunities, only being stopped by 2 young women that needed to team up to beat her. She was leading a lot of the strategy from start to finish this season. I mean, Maria played a really, really impressive game. And anyone who's going to detest that, I'm going to ask you what season you watched, because I really do think that Maria was like leading this season start to finish. And right there, thank you, Matt. That is a great time to change that slide. She deserved that standing ovation. Seriously,
she did. She did.
And we'll talk about we again, compliment sandwich. We will get to more of Maria later, but for here, we're starting off with the first really big compliment. Great job, Maria. You did a great job on this season.
Well, let's quickly take a break, and then we'll find out if there was any cheating in the Final Four Immunity Challenge.
My name is Jonah Fielko, and I'm the CEO of Bracketology.tv, fantasy sports for reality television. We offer fantasy games for shows like The Bachelor, Survivor, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and counting. You start by creating a community. Within your community, you can create a fantasy league for each show that you want to play fantasy games for. Within the league, you can choose up to 3 of our 4 game types, and our most popular is the Advanced League. Choose a team of contestants, and depending on what they do and say during the episode, that's how your team will gain or lose points each week. We also have elimination-style games like our Confidence Pool. This is where you choose how confident you are that each contestant will survive elimination that week. And we've also got March Madness-style brackets. Come back a couple hours after the episode to check your scores and watch you climb the leaderboard. Bracketology is free to play, so grab your friends, your family, your coworkers, and head to bracketology.tv for more info.
I'm so curious to know, how did you all do with your Bracketology accounts? I did pretty well, but I have to admit, I totally forgot to submit for the final episode, which was a bummer.
I did great on the final episode.
Oh,
Bracketology I didn't do well on. Prod draft, different story.
Yeah, I feel like I have been under so much grief from Fantasy League that I have not touched Bracketology. I'm going to touch Bracketology when I clear 3rd in Fantasy. That's sort of my threshold there. Also, really quick, can we give a shout out to our listeners? We have just hit 50 consecutive live listeners and viewers. Thank you so much. We would not be able to be here without all of you all. So big blessings. Thank you so much. And
if you haven't already, subscribe.
Yeah, if you've not already, subscribe to the channel. Come on.
Yeah, subscribing, liking, leaving comments. It all really helps our channel. So, Phil, great shout out. Thank you all so much for joining. Zan says, Mermaid Dragon brought it home. We're about to get into it. But oh my, I loved this final immunity challenge because, Ollie, if you remember from Survivor UK, we did this challenge.
Final 5, the Final 5 immunity. Yep.
And it was
as soon as I saw it. Yeah, it was basically the same. Obviously, I think this version was a lot bigger.
Yeah.
But
if I'm not mistaken, we also did something very similar in Millennials Gen X. And in a way,
me and Randy spoke about this. Yeah.
Yes, and it was very similar. Again, in a sort of help, one tribate helping another vibe. That was when Adam Klein completely stopped doing his challenge to help Ken take out David.
Oh, so there was helping again in a challenge.
There was.
Oh.
That's the thing. However, it's interesting, right? Now imagine if Adam walked over, started grabbing Ken's pieces, and putting the puzzle. Here, let me stop. But just
and the thing is, no one's mentioned that. But imagine if that happened and Adam and that were women.
Again,
interesting. I
really do think that if Adam went over there and actually started touching his pieces, people would have gone insane. I think that's the line. But I did like this challenge. I thought it was neat. I love a challenge where it's sort of like risk reward. Take as much time as you think that you can. Take as much time as you think that you have, and you will be penalized if you go too far. I mean, I think this is it's real simple, but it's also got like a level of complexity. I think it's nice. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, I like the time penalty a lot. I think it really adds something, a new dynamic. We've seen so many times a very similar setup, but in those instances when the ball falls, that means you're out. And I'm glad that they changed it up so that it was this timed puzzle element, because we also got to see players get more and more frustrated as they weren't understanding their time crunch. I think Charlie really struggled with
Yeah.
planning out how he was going to do this. And we saw that his ball fell into the penalty twice. I'm not sure if anyone else had
Liz.
any more than that.
Liz.
Oh, no, Liz had twice as well, I think. Maybe.
Oh,
He
okay.
did. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I thought it was a great challenge. And it leads up. I mean, before the challenge, we get Ben. Basically, we had a segment with Ben where we learned more about his night terrors.
Mhm.
And he admitted to Jeff, he is like, I'm so tired. I've not slept well at all. But he ends up being able to pull out the win. And that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I think that first of all, kudos to Ben, and I think it's so awesome. Like, you can see how much I'm into him. When he finished the challenge, he literally just let out an "I did it," and I think that like there is something so lovely and earnest about someone like really taking in their win, and we got to see that firsthand with Ben. And I think that he is a contestant that like never thought that he would be able to win a challenge, which makes it even more special. However, the guy had a really big decision to make after this. And, we will get into his deduction, the sort of theory of his deduction there, how he got to his decision. But kudos to Ben. Great job, man. You deserve this. Rock on.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, he basically instantly tells Liz, so I'm putting you up for fire. And this kind of gets us going with Liz saying that she's played the best game out here, because he says, what did he say exactly? Do either of you remember? But he basically said, you're playing the most impressive game out of everyone.
Pretty much.
And Liz was like, oh, he caught me. Dang it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think that like this is, at this point of the episode, I had to sort of start pinching myself and smack myself up and go, wait, am I watching the right? Is this the right? Like, did I miss an episode? Like, maybe there was a mini in between. Like, I was really, really confused. And again, no disrespect to Liz, no disrespect to Ben's take even. I just think that what we were shown in the edit was clearly very different than their understanding on the island. And that happens sometimes. So, like, this is really not to sort of pick them apart. This is more just to say that what we saw was not what we were told in this finale. And I almost wish that we got a little bit more of what we would eventually be told in a finale throughout the season. Yeah. And I think that, like, that is a little bit of just that is one little sort of mark on the editing this season, because I was definitely taken aback by this take.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the thing, like, I understand. I feel like Ben's closest allies were both Charlie and Kenzie. And segue to kind of, we were always talking about Ben is going to have to make this really big decision between Charlie and Kenzie. And we thought it was going to be something to do with the final tribal and whatnot. There was going to be something. And truth be told, let's be fair, it was just who he was going to choose to go against, Liz and Fire. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. So part of that there, I was sat there going like, so this was the kind of Ben build-up we all kind of noticed. That was the decision, who he's going to put on against Fire. And it kind of got me overthinking, worrying, thinking like, oh my God, does it mean like the person that he picks is definitely going to go home? Like, it was all that. But I lost my train of thought.
Oh no! And we were right on the great path there. Now is a great time to show some chats. Ben's take on Liz is so bad. LMAO. You know what? And then Minnow says there's a universe where Liz is the Charlie of the season, and this is why her exit interviews were so fascinating. Like, hearing her strategy was so fun. Here's the thing. I know the episode sort of clowned Liz a little bit, and you know what? I think we're talking about it as we saw it. It would often have her say something along the lines of, I played the best game, and then it would cut to someone kind of smirking or laughing at that. And I kind of feel bad, because I will say there were some moves that Liz made that I think were game altering, such as the Tevin vote, even though she believed that was overshadowed. And then she was a key part of some vital vote flips post that move. But that being said, I think there were more people in the game who had stronger games overall. And I think Liz had too many creative strategic choices that were kind of outlandish. And, we'll talk about that in The Tribe Has Posted a little bit, where basically she says, I was never a millionaire. I basically told everyone that so they'd take me farther, which I didn't understand the logic there.
I think the thing with Liz was the perception she had put on herself. I think she was really going to struggle with changing it. So last minute. I think that was the issue that she was going to face.
Ooh, and wait, real quick, Minnows, you're thinking like a producer. I mean, also, we don't know 100% that all those reactions were to Liz. Just saying. I think that's a very smart call out.
Love Minnows. He's figured out what we're all thinking now as well.
But
yeah, I just want to double down what you're saying there, Matthew, because I have said it sort of as well all season. Liz has made moves. I want to make that very, very clear. Liz has 100% made moves, and she has had people go up to her and tell her what to do, and she has said, "No, I'm doing something different because this is what I want to do," and it has literally worked out. I just think that the issue is, to your point, right, is driving agency through the season, and I think that we're looking at a Final Four where there are two people who have done that better and more efficiently than Liz, and that's just not what we were being told by Ben, which is why I think it was a little bit confusing to a lot of the audience. But yeah, I don't want it to be to be clear, Liz has made some moves. And in a way, I would love to see how this season is restructured with Liz making it to the Final Three, even if it is her making it to the Final Three and becoming some 0-vote finalist that has been. And I want to know what that would look like. I want to know what her argument would have been. And I think that it would have been one of the, to your point, one of the most transformative sort of arguments and discussions that we ever saw. She said it in her post game. I mean, her whole thing was, I lied about being a millionaire. Here I am. I am not actually a millionaire. And this is why you should make me one. And that would have been really, really compelling and interesting. So I feel like I'm flip-flopping back and forth on Liz here. However, this is why this game is beautiful and amazing, right? Because it is not so simple of Liz bad player, Liz suck, or Liz really good, Liz really awesome, the best. That's not how this game works. And I think that in a way, this season is one of the greatest seasons to talk about that in, because I do think that everyone had Charlie hand over fist winning this competition. And even I said, I can see Kenzie winning, but it will be a story about how Charlie didn't make it to the Final Three. And Kenzie literally wins over Charlie in the Final Three, which is really fascinating. And this game is just, it really gives you endless things to talk about, listen to, and consider. So, as much as I want to say oh, this was so confusing, what the heck? This is not me being upset at Survivor. Survivor is the greatest show on television, and this is the reason why. I'm going to hop off my soapbox. Let's go to
I mean, before we move on, Zan says Liz was going to drop that she isn't a millionaire. She was going to win easy. That is an interesting... that is very interesting. I want to hear more about why you believe that would be a thing.
We've got someone in our audience that really believes that she would have taken that home. So again, it's this game is so complex. There's so much dynamics at play. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But then Ben has to decide between, will it be Charlie or will it be Kenzie? I have to say, I actually thought Kenzie's reaction to Ben telling her it's going to be you or Charlie going up against Liz. I like how she sort of was like, it's all good. It didn't faze her. And I thought that was it kind of showed her social game. She was a very social player. And I like that she carried that out to the very end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, speaking on Kenzie, before we get to Charlie, I think we kind of did see her struggle a bit as well when it came to the Making the Fire. And I was a little bit scared. I was like, oh no, please don't let this be foreshadowing. But to your point, Matthew, I think the fact that she was so cool, calm, and collected when Ben and stuff was talking to her, it really showed she's how strong of a social player and social game she had. She was so cool with it. She wasn't going to let anything. She wasn't going to let anyone see her sweat in that instance.
Yeah, she had a lovely amount of composure to her, and really from the start of the game to the final of the game. I think it's so funny. The one time we saw her snap was on Banu, and we were all like, "Did she snap? Was that a snap?" Like, she has just been so cool, calm, and collected the whole time. And so, yeah, you're right. I think that Kim. Let's give the full spectrum here. I think that even Charlie had a great response to Ben going up to him as well, and being like, "Hey, man, like it's gonna be you against Liz," and and I think that once again he was very diplomatic about how he answered that, where he was just like, "I am not doing so good that you should absolutely put me in there to beat Liz, but at the same time, do what you want, Ben."
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you two. I mean, how would you respond if you have someone who won your Final Four competition, who has already decided one person, and they are thinking about putting you up against that person? Like, do you think that you'd be able to be as calm as Kinsey and Charlie were?
I'd try and convince them to do the other person.
You'd outright, you'd be like, I'm not the one.
No, I'm not the one. No. Fire, never heard of it. Don't know who she is.
I feel like I would have to be, because I think my strategy or my approach to having something like this happen to me would be to make them question it by me kind of showing my confidence. Unless it's the situation where they think that they want to put in the best player to take the other person out, then I think my approach would be a little bit different. But I feel like I think that's why I resonated with Kenzie's approach here, and Charlie's approach too as well, which was kind of like, your decision is your decision, right? And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I feel like having that mindset for me personally is the only way that I can even get through it, win or lose, without losing myself completely. But what about you, Phil?
It's interesting, right? There's so much that we tell ourselves on the outside that we'd be able to sort of hold certain composure, and I think that, like, from in the comfort of my lovely apartment here, I think it's so easy for me to be like, oh yeah, I would need to hold composure, so I would. But I do think that there would be a part of me, like to your point, Ollie. I'm not gonna lie, I turn into Ollie real quick, where they'd come over and be like, please, you cannot do this. You cannot put me in here. I will fail. This woman's gonna go in there and she's gonna beat you. Don't put me in, please. Like, I think I would start begging. I mean, I'd turn into Bonu. It would be an ugly sight, because I think it's just so hard to sit there and like know that you're that close, and you might be put into a situation where you can lose that. But then again, you want to get this sort of like forever cyclical sort of conversation about Survivor. Charlie got what he wanted here, and it is clearly not what he needed.
Ooh.
Because right, I'm kind of preaching here. Because seriously, I think it's so interesting that, like, really, Charlie, the last thing he wanted was to go into fire. He got exactly what he wanted and not. And again, we're gonna push through to the end at some point. But it seems to be what it certainly helped Kinsey win. Whether or not it was the reason why he lost, maybe not exactly the discussion here, but it was the reason Kinsey won, and a big reason why she won.
I was going to say, big reason.
One of many, one of several, if you will.
Yeah.
Before we make it to that fire making challenge, I want to show some chats here from our live chat. Megan says, I don't understand how people still aren't coming into the game having mastered fire making. Megan, I say it all the time. It's like going into Drag Race without learning how to sew. I mean, you got to learn how to make fire. Zan says, put a dragon in a fire making contest. How funny. We'll talk. Kenzie really tied the being in fire making back to the beginning of her game, which I thought was very smart on her end. Minnow says, I think if I was in fire, I would be so tempted to meme and just help the other person. Oh, Minnows, no, you got to go for it. You got to go for it.
Yeah. Minnows, get out of here. No way.
He's just doing a Liz. It's fine.
But then we get to Final Tribal Council, and Ben says it's going to be Kenzie and Liz tonight. And what do we think about this pair going into it? Because my thought is, I think personally, I would have chose Kenzie and Charlie to go into fire making. But the only thing about that is that whoever wins that probably wins the game.
Yeah. So, Matthew, I want to start by saying this. It almost sounded like I glitched out there. That was literally just the real me glitching. Matthew, I think that, and I'm so sorry, I think anyone watching this season, the edited product that we watched, would have made that decision.
Mhm.
I think that is what we are told was, supposed to happen in a way. Because, yes, those were the two people that we were told were the hardest to beat in 3 if they had gotten there. But I want to sort of hone in on what you said, that last thing you said there. At the end of the day, whoever won out of those two, once again, if you were to have put Kinsey and Charlie, probably would have won the game. Now, someone like Ben, he did not. I'm guessing, mostly certain, that he was sure that he was not going to take this thing home. I don't think that he thought that he was going to be a 0-vote finalist. He might have squeaked out a couple, but I don't think that he actually thought that he was going to take this thing home. And now, when that becomes sort of the sort of like kingmaker in Ben, the king or queen maker, the person who gets to decide who gets to come to the final 3, I think it's interesting when the person making that decision does not really have a vested interest to make the decision that will make them a winner because they know that they can't. And right there, Mennos, right here, Vincent and exit interviews, it becomes a matter of who you like more.
Mhm.
And I think that people should remember this more, that the person making this final decision could not be making the final decision based off them winning, and instead could be making it based off of, as Ben has made the entire season, off vibes. I think he simply wanted to bring Charlie because Charlie was his buddy, his bro since the start, and I think that was literally the reason why he made the decision that he made. I don't think that he was thinking about what decision was going to make a winner, take a winner, or change his fate. I simply think that he wanted to put the person next to him that he was broing down with since the start. And I think it was so close between Ben and Kenzie, more so because these were two of his closest friends.
Yeah, well, this was the decision. This was the big decision he had to make this season. But I understand it, and I think completely fair enough for it. I just quickly going back to the point about Charlie getting his way on not wanting to do the fire. I actually completely understand it because I do feel like there are times people put too much weight on the fire making challenge. I can understand why it's a resume move, don't get me wrong, but we've seen in other past seasons, 43, that the person that made fire, that was the sole reason. And I thought to myself, why? Because do you get what I mean?
I do get what you mean. And I think that fire has taken on an importance that is not necessarily getting through the screen all the time, because I do think that people at home are often like, why is this such a big deal? Well, the people there seem to have an easier time justifying it. Whether or not it's right or wrong, I think is up in the air.
Yeah.
But I totally agree, Ali. I think that it has become such a big deal.
And just to clarify, I'm not saying it's the biggest deal. Because I understand why it should be a deal, but I think there are some times we've seen it where people make it the biggest deal.
Yeah.
Make it the most important deal. And that's where I kind of sit there and go, it can be a reason, but if you're making it the reason, what has the last 24, 25 days been then?
Ooh,
do you get yeah. And that's the only the debate I have for people. I'm like, if the fire making is going to be the sole decision, what was the point in playing the rest of the 24 days then?
Yeah, 25 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally hear you. Ollie, I think that is Matt, check me here, Matthew, if you think that we have the time here. I think that is a great off-season podcast, thing to talk about, because that is such a large conversation. I think that to talk about that here would turn this into a 2-hour deal. But I think that is I think it's such a good conversation topic. Seriously. I want to pocket that, and maybe that's some got something for you over the summer sort of deal. Because I really think I think that you're right. What is the point of everything else if your only care is this fire at the end?
Yeah.
You know?
And just to bring this comment in, if you're undecided, the fire can have that recency bias, which I can completely understand, and I get. I think it's for the other people that make it the only reason. But I think if you're undecided and you see that, I can understand.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle, right? Fire making is a spectacle. It is right there in front of a almost fully formed jury at that point, and it is the last thing that they sort of see. I didn't know this, but I want to show Megan's comment. The fire making challenge was edited heavily, and apparently it took forever.
Yeah,
like,
that's
are we talking like Cook Islands forever, like that?
Charlie talked about this, and again, like in his exit interview, like kudos to Charlie for keeping it real in his exit interviews. I mean, once again, like he's such a diplomatic, like clearly very sweet, kind guy that does not, I would imagine, he's not like to stir the pot as easily or as thoughtlessly as my love Q. However, he was very clear in his exit interview. He was like, I think it's crazy that the reason that Maria has quoted for voting for Kinsey was the fire in her eyes because they barely saw it, considering it took them so long to make. And then he said after that, he goes, not to throw shade. And I was like, all right, Charlie. Because again, I know despite how diplomatic he's been, I know this whole thing has hurt him. And I like really thought that right there, he kind of gave it up, or he was like, dude, the fire wasn't even impressive, is essentially what he said. And, we can talk about that too. Also, I'm sorry, I want to throw this in here because I actually don't even know who this is. If I actually know you, please reveal yourself. But this is so fun. You want to know about my rankings? What did I say that you want to know about my rankings? I don't want to bore.
I was going to say, what did Matt?
I don't want to bore.
For the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to bore everyone in chat here, so I'm not going to give it now. But please reach out to me on Instagram. I almost never say that, but I will give you my rankings, and I do have them. But thank you, Big Show. I do not know who you are, and I will love to get to know you.
Wait, Amy says, I think Charlie came across as too overconfident by stating at Tribal that he didn't think he needed to make fire. I feel like Charlie didn't explain himself as well in this moment. I understood what he was trying to say, but I also agree, Amy, I do kind of think he did come across in that way. And it reflected in the jury questions at the last Tribal Council where they sort of felt similarly.
But I'm sorry, this goes back to Ollie's point. Like, can you not get to the final three and just be like, look, I don't think that I need fire? Like, is that always going to be insulting? Because I don't think that the way that he said it was like mean or malicious or insulting to the jury. But you're absolutely right though, Minnows. I think, or it was Minnows that said it, right? Or was it Sans? You're absolutely right that like clearly it brushed people the wrong way.
Yeah, that was Amy.
But then I asked the question, is there any way that you can go to the finals and be like, I think I've done enough without people being like, oh yeah? Well, let me show you. Boom, I'm not voting for you. Because that is what feels like what happened here a little bit. And it's like, I think it's unfortunate. That's sort of my thing. Yes, my Instagram is private.
Because the thing is, when Charlie said he didn't want to make fire, I agreed. I was on the same page. I was like, I don't want to make fire. If I was in that situation, I would have no issue being dragged. Because at the end of the day, I would be able to sit there and be like, they brought me. I was able to be brought to the finals. I was able to be given a spot. Did I have to fight for myself? No.
I even hate the vernacular. I like almost wanted to stop you of being dragged.
Yeah.
Why are we calling it that?
No. You were invited.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so shameful to be describing it as being dragged.
This is what I say. So let me rephrase. My social game was that good that people invited me to join them in the finals.
Right. Thank you, Ollie. That's how it should come across, but it never does. And to your point, even you're saying it without thinking. It's like, and I say it too, being dragged. The connotation that has been associated with being taken to the final three at 4 is botched. And I think that it needs some sort of correction and patching, or look, maybe this is by design. A very popular podcaster constantly asks the question, is this a bug or a feature? And I think that that's such an interesting question because it shows the intentionality of, did Survivor want this? Does Survivor want the person to be taken to Final 3 by the winner of Final 4? Do they want them to be sort of counted out? Or, like, again, like, is there such thing as going to Final 4 and being like, hey, I don't think I need fire. Bring me right to Final 3 and have it not feel like a giant screw you to your jury. Because it feels like that's what's happening here. And it's crazy. I feel like it shouldn't come across like that. Like, it's a shame. I'm sorry. It's a shame. God. Give me
This
back
this
But
is
I
a
was gonna say,
fantastic
sorry.
discussion.
Yes.
It falls into kind of, where is the game of Survivor going? And clearly, this is something that needs to be looked at. And I feel like
Yes.
production kind of needs to ask themselves those questions that Phil, you so brilliantly pointed out. But congratulations to Kenzie, though.
Yes,
You
I want to
ended
say
up
that.
making
I mean,
fire.
this roaring fire. Look at it. It's huge.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah, just quickly on the Kenzie fact, because I know we kind of went off topic. Just quickly, I do think that the moment she was able to get out of her head and make that fire, I feel like was very important. I feel like we need to give her those flowers.
Well,
and
for a
that credit.
storyline purpose, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Sheldon it was so amazing how she described it. She started out on a tribe that had no flint for the record amount of time, and now she's at the end and she has the fire. And I was like, oh, what a gorgeous narrative.
Yeah,
Like, it was so strong. But this means that the most powerful player in the game, Liz, says goodbye. And of course, we're still kind of joking around. But again, as we illustrated, Liz did make significant moves. She did say to everyone, and they did edit it. And to Minnow's point, we don't know when the reactions really were, but she did say something along the lines of, it was going to be over for all of you if I made it to final 3.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good on her for believing that. And I thought she was very entertaining. Of course,
Oh my God,
Applebee's is instantly iconic because of her now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, go ahead, Ollie.
No, I was going to say, obviously, if anyone saw the podcast on Thursday with myself and Randy, I did a poll for him, and it was what was the most iconic moment of the season. Actually, I think that may have been Wednesday. And the fans voted for Liz's Applebee moment. That was the moment of the season. So regardless of whatever you think of her gameplay, her character, her personality, whatever, you're going to remember her this season. She's going to have an iconic moment that people are going to remember. So props to Liz. I enjoyed her. I think we all discounted her at the start of the series. Pre-season, we all pretty much discounted her. So I'm happy to be proven wrong.
To throw this in there, I mean, if y'all were here for fantasy, I was left with Liz in the draft. That said, I was very much fine with it. I was very happy with it even. So kudos to Liz. You did a great job. Also, who would have thought that someone would be able to take Applebee's from Karishma? We thought Karishma was the pinnacle of making Applebee's like such an excitable thing to talk about in a great moment. And Liz said, hold my beer. So kudos to Liz. An absolute all-time moment. We are going to be seeing this for the rest of Survivor history. And you have cemented yourself you cemented yourself in Survivor history. So kudos. Also, a fun little mini Applebee's moment during the fire making. I just want to call out when Charlie was like, oh, and get the sticks to a teepee. She goes, she knows what to do with the sticks, Charlie.
Yes. I laughed.
Liz is always going to be Liz, and that's why you have to love her, dude. You have to love Liz. She's just, she's herself, and I respect that. So kudos, Liz. Kudos.
Yeah. Also, speaking of like kind of Liz, like Minos just had a comment in the chat, which I really do appreciate. He put, I know people are for but I am
immunocompromised.
Thank you, guy who has a lot of struggles, and I love Liz for applying and going on despite the struggles. And I think that's fair. I think we have to also give that its flowers, because Liz has proved you can play this game having a lot of allergies, being like compromised immunity like wise, and being able to still survive and thrive, because she was able to do that. So kudos to her.
Another example of how representation is so important, because now, Minos, you saw someone who you really related to on television, and I think that's so amazing to hear. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it that you felt comfortable enough to share with us.
Season 39. Yeah,
to answer your question, season 39, go in with a great assault. Okay?
Yeah.
Just we don't need to discuss it here. Go in with your heart, hold your heart.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward.
Now it goes to the jury, and I
loved this.
What a good-looking jury.
I loved this moment. Like, all the shots, like this little segment, I was like, this is how you showcase a jury.
Yes.
I was like, even the people that I was never really a fan of during the season, I was like, go on, all of you, like all of them. Like, minutes, they are serving. I can't say the word, but they are serving.
They're definitely serving it. They're definitely serving it.
Serving. And you know what? It was a great build up to
Yes.
the jury questions, but I want to know. So, Final Tribal Council has gotten a lot more ambiguous, I would say. Like the format it's not as solidified as I think it once was. And they've tried a couple of different things. Like everyone stands up and asks a question. They've done that. They've done, all right, we're going to take it outwit, outplay, outlast. And now it's kind of like up to the jury to decide how they would like to go about and get the responses they want to hear. And I don't know how productive this was. And I'm still undecided about this because I was wondering, and especially hearing from Ben's interviews towards the end here, where he was basically like, yeah, they didn't really want to hear from me at all.
I'm sorry. With love, is that unique to this season, Matthew?
No,
Not at all.
not at all.
No.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't know if it's the format this season, which is the reason why Ben sort of got that.
No, well, I mean, this has been a new era thing, right? Well, it started out with outwit, outplay, outlast, and then I know for 45 they did this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like this was a lot closer to what they originally did as opposed to New Era, because it was like each juror asked, like they asked a question. They weren't able to like get up and talk, but they were able to, you know, ask their question and get answers, and like they each had kind of a question to ask.
Right.
I can understand what you mean about the tribal council. Like, I think Megan said it in the chat. Oh, this final tribal council was something. I will admit, at first, I did get really annoyed because I think like it was literally the first question that was asked. Each person got like someone from the jury kind of spoke over them and kind of stopped them. Specifically, like the Q interaction with Kenzie did irritate me. However, looking back on it, we always knew this jury was going to be emotional. We always knew that this jury, like, I'm saying emotional specifically because a lot of the toxic fans have said like it was always bitter. It was going to be bitter. I actually push back and say we always knew they were going to be emotional, and you were going to have to make sure they felt good. Which is why I said right at the start, jury management was key. So when people kind of like talk crap about the jury, I'm kind of sat there going, but we already knew how to approach the jury. So why are you mad that they're doing what we all knew that they were going to do? Why were you expecting something different, if that makes sense?
Yeah. No, look, I personally liked returning to this format. I did. And I think I've been asking for this for so long. I am over Ali's question having to determine how I make my vote, or Matthew's question determining how I make my vote. I want my question answered, right?
Yeah.
And as everyone on the jury should be able to ask their one question, which is how it used to be, right? Everyone goes up one at a time. Hey, this is my question for my vote. This is what matters to me. And I think it's interesting because, to your point, Matthew, yes, in this format, someone like Ben, someone can go up there and say, hey, Ben, I'm not even considering you. I don't care to hear your answer. However, you two, I want to know your answers. But I think that even in the alternate format where it's sort of these like, these giant group questions and just this super general, I just think it doesn't, I find it, I don't think that people are shifting their votes as much when it's just, okay, give me your general why you think you should win, and let's come up with 3 agreed upon questions. Like, it's just not, it doesn't feel as real. And in this tribal, we saw that a lot of people changed their votes. And I think that was a result of, I'm going to ask you a question that matters to me. The way that you answer this is going to decide where I place my vote. Here you go. Good luck. And I think the truth is, someone like Ben, I'm sorry, he's getting ignored in old format or this format. We've seen it. I mean, we saw someone like Romeo, who actually had, I think, a decent final tribal, all things considered, but he was not considered. We saw the same. I mean, I don't even need to go through like every single tribal. Someone gets discounted, and that's just going to happen. And I think that having the 1-to-1 and not doesn't really make a difference there. However, I think having the 1-to-1 makes it very clear, what does this person care about? Even Q. I mean, look, Q was probably the most straight up with it, where he was just like, I don't care about any of the answers to all the other people's stuff. I'm asking my question about what you would do with the money, and this is what matters to me. So I think it's interesting, which one's better or worse. I think that, people have obviously different views on that, but I personally actually really like this one because I did feel like you got to hear like what mattered to each individual person. What I did not like here was them cutting off the three people making their argument.
Did not
that
those interruptions.
bothered me immensely. And so that's the thing. Like, I think that these are two different things at play. I think that each person getting their time to ask their question, I'm all for that. For them saying, hey, you have 30 seconds. Oh, you're done. I was so not a fan of that. That really, really bothered me. I honestly was not even bothered by Tiffany at the front being like, hey, we don't want Taylor Swift quotes. We don't want rock and roll, rock this. I actually appreciated that.
Yeah,
I was with that too. I was like, dude, with love, I don't want you guys sort of, leaning on your quirks and your, the caricature of you. Be real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah.
I mean, I'm completely. I think the thing that I most resonated with is I think the thing that really got on my nerves for this final tribal council was the interruptions.
Yeah.
It's not. I think you have to let people speak. I think you have to. They made it to the final three. You have to let them say their case as they want to say it. And I think for a viewer, it was also frustrating because they were saying things that I wanted to hear more of.
Yeah.
So now I didn't get to hear their responses. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like that's where I didn't think, I think that there should be a rule implemented because to your point, Phil, I don't think this was better or worse than past tribal councils. It just was what it was. And to me, the interruptions were so uncalled for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree. And because I think it was like going back to the Q one, because Q was like basically trying to, and during I can't remember whose question it was, but it was when Q was like, no, I always was on Tim.
Oh, about the Ben versus Tim.
Yeah. You all know, all of us were like, play the clips, roll the shape. But I think like that was a big instance. And there was another one. I didn't mind the 30-second interruptions because they technically said you have 30 seconds. And lest we forget, I do think Kenzie was able to kind of really say her thing. She just got to the 30 seconds.
Okay. But that's the question, right? There's no timer out there. Tiffany
I know.
said, I'm the timer.
I'm the timer.
He's very clearly like etching for Kinsey. This has been said everywhere, dude. Like it's like I'm sure she gave Kinsey, to your point, an exact amount of time. She's gonna sort of stop her right when she's finishing a thought. Versus Charlie, who got hard cut off, and versus Ben, who got hard cut off. So I'm sorry. I do think that like it's just like not fair. And I think that like a closing argument especially. No, look, I'm with you, Ollie. Like have some sort of brevity to what you're saying. Like it should not be like, okay, you all get as much time as you want. Kinsey got a minute, Charlie got a minute and a half, and then Ben talked for 20 minutes. Like, no, that would also feel uncouth. Yes. However, I think that if something got that extreme, the jury would be like, hey, now you're just milking it. And I think that would be an issue in their argument alone. I think to start off and being like, hey, you guys each get 30 seconds and I'm the timer. I love Tiffany. She is a Jersey girl through and through. I've said it before. I literally have people that I've known through my life that I found out they went to school together. Like we are 1 degree away. I did not like that. I'm so sorry. I did not like that. That just, it just felt really, I was just like, come on, you're going to give him 30 seconds, and then you're the timer,
Now, what did we think of the actual responses? I mean, Zan says Charlie was a little too diplomatic in the end, well-spoken, but it takes work to cut through some of the flourish. I will say, I think my favorite Charlie response, I think when he brought up Tevin, I feel like the question was, I don't know, something about what move did you make? But Yeah,
I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yeah, it was
I
kind
know
of
what you're talking about.
we all know.
He called Tevin out as being the power player, and he realized that through talking to Soda. So I think like that was a really great answer. It seemed like the jury responded very well to that. But were there any other jury questions or final three responses that really caught your attention?
I think that Ollie, go ahead, because I have a statement, but it's almost just going to lead to another question. I want you to get your
fair. No, I think the main thing that I really enjoyed was kind of when it was the Yanu dispute that we always sort of like that. I obviously really enjoyed that, and I think Kenzie really did handle it well, and I think she wasn't afraid to call out the jury and be like, "No, this is how it was." So I kind of appreciated that, and I think that's what kind of really did benefit Kenzie in a way, because she was able to be authentically herself and go, no, this is the truth. Like, yes, you have your own reality, but I'm telling you the facts. So I kind of appreciated that a bit with, like, I'm not saying that was all the time, but I just meant kind of in that situation, I appreciated it, because obviously Q was trying to sit there and be like, no. And everyone was like,
what a personality moment from Q on the jury.
Oh, it was funny.
Like if there is going to be someone to somehow find a way to get into an argument from the jury seat, not even necessarily with just the person like pitching, but another juror and the person like, I was like, Q, brother, come on, man.
Babes, it was Yanu. It was the Yanu we'd seen from we were getting the full circle moment.
We sure were. But I think that this is sort of my thing. Like, I thought that Kenzie and Ben did a phenomenal job. Both did a phenomenal job for themselves, pitching for why they deserve the win. What I think is tough is I think that in again, I don't know if this Matthew put me on the track here. If you think that this should be a conversation for after we see Kenzie with her win and we see Charlie looking sad, but I feel like there was hardly anything Charlie could have brought up that would have done anything here, and I think it's unfortunate because I think that he did such a great job, and I think that there was because I even wonder where it's just like if even to Maria's conversation about Kenzie seeing you make fire, blah, blah, blah. If he made a silly, snarky, funny comment where it's like, oh, well, it took him a while to get to fire, I think that just would have made him look worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that sort of countering any points directly, does that buy you anything? Because I think that that's the only thing that I can think about that he could have done. But we even remember in the very beginning of this final tribal, Charlie goes like this. And he does sort of insert himself into a conversation, but I don't think that he got taken away points from that. But it's just what could he have done more, do you think?
Well, I mean, I want to show this real quick, Ollie, before we go to you, from Minos saying that Minos expected more from Charlie as someone who was in law school. His delivery was rough for you. So, I mean, Ollie, what do you think here? It seemed like they were pretty torn. So that's something.
Yeah. That's the thing. I feel like Charlie did have some really good moments, and he had some strong moments where even I sat there and I was like, oh, Charlie, I'd be like, I respect Charlie in that point. Even I was like, Charlie could get my vote for that. I think it's just I think it was in the questions that required a bit more kind of social jury. I put them in the lane of social jury management, because I feel like that's where it kind of it's not that Charlie was bad, it's where he could have been better. And that's how I'm going to phrase that. I just think when there was questions that could appeal to the jurors emotionally, is where he could have he didn't have to be as diplomatic. And I think that's maybe where that's where there was a bit of a disconnect. Because again, I don't think Charlie's final tribal council was bad. I think he really did have a really good tribal council. I think it was how Kenzie's final tribal council was appealed to this particular jury more. She was able to connect to this jury this particular jury more, in my opinion.
Can I say something?
In my opinion, go for
Because
it.
this is sort of where I'm sitting. This is
Mm.
the truth. This is my truth. Let me start there. This is my truth. That is not even necessarily true. The truth is, actually, I guess it is technically absolutely true. So let me say, what should have been the truth is that exactly what we're saying. They both did such a great job that the jury could not decide, and so it ultimately ended up in a tie.
Mm.
That should be the conversation we're having right now. That's like really what I'm thinking. That is my understanding, is that like we should be sitting here saying this exact same thing and being like, and that's, and the ending should just be, and that's why it ended up being a tie. And I'm sorry, I think this is when I have to say it. I think that Maria put out a quite a bitter vote in her vote for Kenzie, and as a result, we did not get a tie. And so now the narrative is, oh, well, what happened? And I think it has less to do with what Charlie said or even what Kenzie said. And I think it has more to do with the vested personal interest of Maria after how she left the game. And I don't think that, and she's, again, if you have watched the exit interviews, this is clear. She has been asked, what could Charlie have said or done to get your vote? You want to know what she says? I don't know. And that is really, really upsetting because this is someone you played the entire game with. And I really do think that the conversation that we should be having right now, the ultimate true truth, if everyone is really playing the way that like the way that you're supposed to, voting for who you want to win as opposed to like voting based off spite in you know, I think that this would have been a tie vote. And I think that whether Kenzie or Ben wins, Kenzie or Charlie wins, I think that we all feel better about it, to be completely honest. And I think that what feels so bad is that there is someone who played an entire game with another person, and again, like it seems as though the reason why she voted against him was out of spite. That is what it seems. Sorry if I can throw this up, so I don't get absolutely pummeled. Thank you, Georgia.
I'm aligned. I think that
I don't think I'm making a crazy statement here.
No,
I'm also parsing my words because again, this is not saying go haggle Maria. Maria is allowed to do whatever the heck she wants.
Well, yeah, she
Okay,
made her way to jury. She made her way to jury. She is allowed to vote however she wants. That is her vote. That is her right as a juror. And I think that we have to be very clear about that. But we can also call it how we see it as a viewer. And as someone who was literally standing right next to Charlie as the votes were being read, it was a tough experience. And you know, I think we'll get into it when we get to the tribe is posted. But something that Maria said at this reunion was one of the reasons why she voted for Kenzie was because of that final question from Q, which was, what are you going to do with the money? And now, okay, I have to say this because I don't want to be a hypocrite about this. There was a point in my life before I was a Survivor fan where I played like a Survivor-inspired game. I had no idea how to play. And one of the questions that I asked at the end when we had a similar setup was, what are you going to do with the money? And can I tell you, the only reason I asked it was because I had no idea what to ask because I already knew who I was voting for. And the other reason is because I was bitter. So I think it's just proof here that it's a bitter type of question to ask.
It is, well, first of all, Q asked that. Maria did not ask that.
Q
no,
did,
but it was in response to Q's question.
I used to have another realization. Matthew is Q, confirmed.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is the craziest thing to come out of this podcast. Matthew, I've never seen you and Q in the same space at the same time. Matthew is Q. It's insane.
I mean, we were both at the finale party. But
but we never saw pictures of you two together. There was never pictures of you two together.
It's all hearsay, Matthew.
But I will also say, I think I wish that one of the final three could have just said, and they weren't really allowed to do this, but you know what? It's none of your business what I'm going to do with the money. At the end of the day, you're voting for a winner. You're voting for a sole survivor, and the money just kind of comes with that as a reward. Do we think this really matters at the end of the game?
I'm sorry. I want to actually make a comment on your first sort of statement there. because I think this is what's interesting, right? The truth is, Maria and Q allegedly made their decision based off of that Q question.
Yeah.
I think the difference is Q has outright said, I made my decision based off of my question.
Yeah.
I asked it because I cared about it. That's how I made my decision. Maria did not ask that question. And for what it's worth, post-game, at the finale thing, also in post-game interviews, all these months later, almost a full year later, she has maintained one of two things. She has said in some occasions that, like, yes, what she answered to Q's question was very important to me, and I liked that. But number two, she keeps saying this, once again, super general wax over of, I saw a fire in Kinsey's eyes that reminded me of me at certain points, whatever. And it's just as general, I saw the fire in her eyes, right? And I think that, to your point, Matthew, to me, that feels like fickle reasoning. And I almost wish that she doubled down on, oh no, it was entirely based on Q's question and the response to that. But instead, she has wafted back and forth on these things, and I do think that, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Can I search for the?
Yeah, find it.
Right here. Here we go. It's right here. Yes, in a way, Maria voting for Kinsey is literally her saying Kinsey played a better game than her, which I do not think that she would ever say ever if she was sitting at Final Three with her or after a game. And I just don't, because her and Charlie played such a symbiotic game until it broke off, where Charlie excelled even further. For her to then to vote for Kinsey is literally saying that Kinsey played a better game than her. And I just don't necessarily think that she believes that. And so I'm just like, and I'm sorry, and I love Maria. This is why it's a compliment sandwich. We talked all at the top about how much Maria has been an absolute beast this season. She's fantastic. Let's not lose that. However, this decision was blasphemous to me. And it really, really was. And
Well,
I think that, yes.
This decision leads to Kenzie being named the sole survivor of Survivor 46.
What a screenshot. Literally, when I saw that, Charlie just going like this, like it literally, I was like, dude, this is sad. This is sad. This is scary. But again, kudos to Kinsey. Much deserved. Very, very, very deserved. Very, very, very deserved. Truly. I would have been happy with any of them winning, just because it would have been fun just to see, especially if Ben somehow pulled it out. But it really, to me, was between Kenzie and Charlie. So that to me was like, I would have walked away from the season very happy if either one of the two of them won. Yeah, 100%.
I didn't like Kenzie winning. I was so sad. I hated it. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna lie. You had me for about 0.5 seconds, and
I was literally like, really. So
what?
Yeah, we all know. I was happy with Kenzie winning.
Of course.
I mean, fun fact. I mean, I don't know if either of you two saw. Yes, me lying, literally. I don't know if either of you two saw mine and Randy's podcast on Thursday. I openly said this. I was never going to mention it, but oh well. I literally cried when Kenzie won. And that is the first time I've ever had a visceral reaction to anyone winning. And that is just because I connected with Kenzie that much. And people gave me some slack for it. Some people criticized me for it. But I appreciate Kenzie's win, and I think she deserved it. And I will always stand by that.
She did. I think that's easy to say. Literally. I mean, again, like, as much as I am being like a counterpoint on how we got here, I've said it. I hope I've said it enough. I would have been just, I think, more satisfied with a tie vote. Ben picks Kenzie. It all makes so much more sense, and I feel like it's a little more satisfying for me. Do I think Kenzie deserved this? Absolutely. Kenzie was a social player. You saw the way that Tiff looked at her. The entire jury, she was rolling with her. Even Q had to give her respect. I mean, truly, Kenzie is a dog in this game. She had an incredible social game. Nothing should be taken away from her at all.
Yeah. I
simply think that Maria voting for Kenzie really, again, I think it made me look at a lot very differently.
But also, just because I've not heard anyone kind of mention this or podcast. I don't even know if Kenzie was aware of this, but Kenzie has officially survived the most tribal councils in the new era. Because obviously it's a shortened game, so there are slightly less tribal councils. But she survived the most tribal councils now officially in the new era. She survived 12 tribal councils. So I think that's also a credit to her game, which I don't think anyone's kind of realized. Like she survived like 12 tribal councils, whereas like obviously other people survived like 8, 7, like, which doesn't sound like a lot. So we were always kind of doing this thing this season where we were like, oh, it's like Charlie and Maria, Malcolm and Denise. Kenzie could have been the Denise all along and none of us even noticed. In the sense of like surviving the most tribal councils, she wasn't the loudest person in the room, but she was always a voice in the room and had influence. I can kind of like I don't know how you guys feel about that, but either way, I'm always going to stand Kenzie. I love Kenzie. Anyone that doesn't like Kenzie can build a bridge and get over it.
I mean, I kind of see them as their own separate players.
But obviously.
It is a cool shout out to kind of call out that she's been to as many tribal councils as she has and survived. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's sort of the game, is surviving when you are in these group dynamics. But I think we should go over to our next segment, which is called The Tribe Has Posted. I'm excited for the discussion we're going to have here. Ollie, let's speed through some of these.
Yes, I mean, we had loads. So 3 polls. Did you think Kenzie and Liz working together was smart for the Final 5 challenge? 60% said yes, 2 is better than 1. So this is going to be a debate that we have. I believe us three will have this really big discussion during the summer on another Fire special edition. The next poll that we had was, if you were Ben, who would you have sent to fire? And 52% said Charlie and Kenzie. And funny enough, 12% only said done fire yourself. And this is why I say this. I don't think a lot of people now are sit there going, I want immunity. I'm already in the final. I'm not going to take myself away. Like, I'm going to keep myself safe and go to finals. And the final poll, who would you have voted for at the final tribal council? 71% said Charlie, 25% said Kenzie. I was in that 25%, and 4% said Ben.
Thank you all so much for filling out these polls. Yes. They are on our Twitter X account. And I mean, this has been such a great addition to our podcast. So Ollie, thanks for taking us through those. And now Kenzie's reaction to winning.
Yes, these were Kenzie's reaction to winning. You can see it on her Instagram, the big long post, but she basically thanks everyone, and she thanks the fans that were always there for her, and that were always rooting for her from day dot. And then I don't know, the next one is this is just people's reactions. So you've got Liz, you've got Maria, you've got Jen, you've got Tiffany, all giving her flowers. There were other people that gave her flowers. Some didn't, but I won't talk about that. There were some people that didn't give her flowers, castaways, but these were the ones that did give her flowers and her props. So lovely. And this is what we were kind of talking about earlier. Liz's big revelation that I think everyone saw of the morning. She's not a millionaire. She said that to minimize her threat level and make people take her a lot less seriously. And it worked. So I do think if that was happening, it would have been funny. So this is a bit more somber. So the first one is a video of Charlie's thing when your number one ally doesn't vote for you in the end as Survivor. And can I just say, I already know that this was done multiple times, because when you watch this video, his clothes are already soaking wet. So he had already done like 1 or 2 takes before this, and it was not good enough. So he went and did it again, which I felt was hilarious. And then it's actually Charlie being, as we saw in the after show, a class act. I've made this clear. I stand by my positive things I said about Maria on the show and in Exit Press. We may not have a personal connection moving forward, but I do not want her to get any hate. I also meant everything I said. And he congratulated Kenzie. Mm-hmm. So no matter what anyone's saying, no matter what any of the toxic people are saying, he's congratulated Kenzie. He's acknowledged her win. Do the same. I do believe the next slide is 2 people's reactions to this. Q and Liz, these reactions I saw and I found hilarious. Q is, if you want to tell somebody how to vote, audition for the show, make the show, and make it far enough to either win or cast a vote for the winner. Until then, shut it. And it's the thing of, and actually, let me just say Liz's point and then I'll get to the thing. Your haters forget it's their job to get the votes. If they don't do that, it's their misstep, no one else. And off of the blame game. So with these, I feel like we kind of mention there is a difference between saying our opinion on who we felt like they should have voted for and trying to make it seem like they're wrong. Because at the end of the day, each person voted how they voted. We can all feel some type of way about it, but that doesn't mean that you are right. That just because I feel like my vote would have gone to Kenzie doesn't mean every single person's vote should have gone to Kenzie. Same as, and so these are 2 comments. So this is Maria. Regardless of how you feel about my decision, it is not okay to call my phone, text me, or email my business. This is where the fandom, I personally need to call out because I think what is happening is disgusting. And also Kenzie is having people go to her salon and see her. And I just want to clarify this. The pink posts, the ones that Kenzie posted that are pink background, these were posted an hour before our stream started. They were an hour before our stream started. And it upsets me that, the fandom can't deal with it. Just because you had an idea of how you felt like the final should have gone does not mean that you are allowed to feel the way you feel. You're allowed to feel upset that you didn't have the end result you wanted. But you feeling like you're entitled and allowed to go overstep a boundary. This is what happened. In my nicest way possible, build a bridge and get over it. Because no matter what, Kenzie's still the winner. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, Kenzie's still the winner. And Maria still voted for Kenzie.
There's no reason for making someone's life difficult because of them being on TV or honestly just in general. And Amy, I really appreciate you saying this. It's terrible that people can't keep themselves from crossing a line like that. And Georgette, we're right there with you as well. So it was important that we highlight these, I feel, and you know what? It's going to keep happening, unfortunately. And that's the saddest part about this. And I don't want this to deter people from auditioning for the show.
Yeah.
But it's a reality that these castaways are facing. And I think it's very, very sad. But
yeah, because I'm sorry, I was just going to say, because unfortunately, I actually don't see a lot of 46 people returning. And I have a feeling if they weren't to return, they would cite how the fandom was as a reason for not returning. And then all the fandom could turn around and be like, anyone that sent these people hate, it's on you now. Because they've openly said, like, you are the reason I'm not doing this. And I always want to advocate for the players. I don't know them, but I will still send them love regardless. I will still, if I wasn't a fan of them, that does not mean I'm going to send them hate, and no one should.
Yeah, it's okay to agree to disagree.
Exactly. Me and Phil do it all the time.
All right, next up.
These were just some pictures from the finale, just because they all looked bomb at the finale. They all looked stunning. And Q announced that his wife is pregnant. So congratulations, Q. Funny enough, I think Q and Kenzie's babies are like 2 months apart, and they're both boys.
Oh my God, that's gonna be so funny.
Very
They're gonna have their own little Yanu tribe.
Oh my God, imagine that. It's so cute.
Yanu
2.0.
Wait, let's also just highlight. So yes, I was at this finale party. Everyone looked stunning. It was so nice to meet all of the players. I had so many just so fun interactions with. I got to meet Jess from the season. I got to meet Mo. Like I had so much fun at this finale. I felt there was one time Dee, the winner of Survivor 45, passed me, and the only thing I could think to say was "I'm sorry." And I don't know why. I don't know why it came out, but it did. And she was very nice about it. There were so many just weird interactions like that, but I'm gonna treasure them for a long time. And it was so cool to be with all of the fans just watching this. But like I said, watching, Charlie was amazing. He went into the night with so much positivity. You would never know what was going to happen. And even throughout the rest of the night, he was so open to taking pictures with people. Everyone was just amazing. I met Timothy Chalamet. I mean, it wasn't really Timothy Chalamet. It was someone who looked like Timothy Chalamet.
I was like, what?
In my mind,
this is a farce.
In my
I was
mind,
like, he didn't do
it
that.
was Timothy Chalamet. But yes, so what a wild night.
Oh, that's so fun. I mean, look, do we have another social media slide or can we close it out?
Oh,
Yes.
big one.
Yeah, go ahead.
A big one, yes.
This is a huge one.
Yes. So this was Jeff Probst officially announcing that the SIA prize money is no longer a thing. And I mean, in my defense, I was like, she never really committed. Like, there was never this like written agreement. But yeah, so we will not see any SIA prize monies this season or following the season, which obviously is a big shock. But kudos to everyone that did earn that, and I'm sure that we'll all have our opinions on who think would have got it this season. But yeah, the fact that Jeff kind of mentioned it, I was like,
that surprised me too.
Yeah.
But to answer Minnow's question, the Sia money is Sia is a singer who is a fan of Survivor, and for the past seasons, she would donate a sum of money to her favorite players.
Yes, it'd always kind of end up at least being 3 people. I can't remember last season. It was Jake.
Well, we could look at that up.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I could tell you 44 off the top of my head.
It's over now. So
Yes.
such an end of an era.
Yes.
And then this was good. Good job.
I had to finish with this one because the one thing that no one had on their Survivor bingo card was Venus beefing with the Empire State Building. Like, Venus has had beef with a lot of people this season. I did not think it was going to be with a building. And I just found this hilarious. And the fact the Empire State Building replied with, "How's that idol treating you?" I just thought was so funny. And then the picture is literally, "Oh, it kind of looks pretty at night." And I found it hilarious. Of all the things that was going on with the finale, the fact that Venus was beefing with the Empire State Building, it was just hilarious to me. And I loved it.
Well, I mean, that's all of the posts that we have, but something we did not talk about was that first look of Survivor 47. And I have to say, I love this logo.
I'm digging it. I love the bats. I hope that is like a true motif through the season, much like the gecko was for this one. And just to say, I mean, Survivor 46 was a fantastic season. I think that it had like such an interesting start. And the middle was hotter than any new era season that we've had. And the ending was the ending. I think that this season is going to go down in history as truly like one of the better new era seasons, especially because much like the season like Gabon, where people are just wacko and crazy, I think that like I can see this season also having like a lot of returnees over time. Yes, I think that we are going to need to give them time to get over all you crazy fans getting in their inbox with hate. Don't do that, please. To reiterate what my
it's none of our viewers. That's a very small.
Yeah, that's right. It is hopefully none of our viewers because it is absolutely unacceptable. But really, I'm just like very, very happy with this season. I really, really, really am happy with this season. And I'm so excited to be back here for the next one. All right. We're not going anywhere. Got something for you. We'll be here for season 47. All right. And yeah, I mean, thank you all for taking this journey with us. We had we maxed out at 83 consecutive viewers today, wherever you are in the world. It is like an honor to be able to sit in front of you all every Saturday and muse you on our thoughts on a show that we all love. It is really a privilege, and I cannot wait to be back here next season. And hey, to Ollie's point over there, right? He brought up some great stuff that could possibly be talked about in a summer sort of off season. So you might see it sooner than you think. But thank you. I just want to make sure that I say thank you to all of our viewers for sticking out with us. We have only grown since the start of this season. And I'd like to think that we have grown, as commentators as well. So, you know, Do not go anywhere. We're coming back for more next season.
I think that is the perfect place to wrap it up. But Ollie, would you like to say something for our viewers too?
Love you. See you next season. Yeah, Phil said it. Phil said it perfectly. I did not need to say anymore.
It's
but
true.
Love you all.
Ollie's got the social media, okay? Please, you know.
With that, we are going to end the stream here. Once again, like Phil said, thank you all so much for joining us on this journey. And like he also said, we will be back for Survivor 47. So until then, we've got nothing for you, but we are excited to have something for you in the near future. So see you all then.
Hey, Matthew, you better eat that Applebee's.
I'm going right now.